The bones beneath the staircase. On July 17, 1674, two small skeletons were discovered during building work inside the Tower of London. It was a simple moment that reopened one of Britain's deepest historical wounds. Many believe that the bones belonged to Edward V, just 12 years old, and his younger brother, 9-year-old Richard, Duke of York, famously known as the Princes in the Tower. The two young royals had disappeared nearly 2 centuries earlier, in 1483, during the chaos of the Wars of the Roses. Their vanishing sparked one of British history's most enduring mysteries. And now, in the reign of Charles II, the discovery of these bones seemed to bring their tragic tale full circle. But even this discovery brought more questions than answers. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Give this video a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss when I drop a new one. Alright, let's continue. July 17, 1674. The air inside the Tower of London hung heavy with dust and echoes of the past. Workmen, laboring through layers of stone and history, were clearing debris from the ruins of the old palace buildings south of the White Tower. Their task was urgent. The Great Fire of London in 1666 had reminded everyone that gunpowder stored in the tower posed a deadly risk, and Charles II had ordered a sweeping reorganization of the ancient fortress. But what the laborers unearthed that day would stir the kingdom and shake centuries of dust off one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in British history. 10 feet beneath a staircase once used by kings to descend from their royal lodgings to the chapel, buried beneath earth and stone, lay the fragile, broken skeletons of 2 young children. Limbs scattered, skulls cracked. One of them possibly broken by a careless blow of a worker's spade. They were quickly deemed insignificant and tossed aside. Just bones. Just death. London was full of both. And then, someone looked again. Whispers began to ripple through the tower. 2 children, buried secretly in the heart of royal stonework? Whispers turned to speculation, speculation to shock, and then a chilling name surfaced. Nearly 2 centuries before, in 1483, 2 royal brothers had vanished. Edward V, the 12-year-old heir to the throne, and his younger brother Richard, Duke of York, only 9, had been lodged within the Tower of London. It was a time of chaos, the Wars of the Roses, a brutal civil struggle between 2 rival branches of the Plantagenet family, York and Lancaster. Their father, Edward IV, had died suddenly, leaving his eldest son to inherit the crown. But Edward V never wore it. His uncle Richard, Duke of Gloucester, was named Lord Protector. And within months, Edward V was declared illegitimate. Richard seized the throne, and the boys, once seen playing in the Tower Gardens, were never seen again. They vanished into legend. Some whispered they were smothered in their sleep. Others claimed they were poisoned or drowned. A few insisted they were spirited away and lived in secrecy. But most believed they were murdered by their uncle, now Richard III, to clear his path to the throne. It was a story soaked in betrayal, blood, and sorrow. And then, in 1674, it returned to life. According to John Knight, chief surgeon to King Charles II, the bones were discovered during demolition work. He described the bones of 2 striplings, boys of around 11 and 13, discovered in what seemed to be a wooden chest, buried deep in the ground beneath the staircase. The workers, unaware of their possible significance, had disturbed them. A younger skull had been fractured, perhaps by accident. The bones were scattered. Only later, once the rumors began, did the laborers return to sift through the rubble, recovering the remains as best they could. The story grew, and the discovery, which might have faded into obscurity, caught the attention of the king himself. Charles II, the restored monarch, son of the executed Charles I, was a man attuned to the power of symbols. He knew the monarchy, newly re-established after the chaos of the English Civil War, needed roots, legacy, and reverence for the past. The mystery of the lost princes, sons of Edward IV, now carried a weight beyond history. They were relics of a broken crown, waiting to be honored. Charles II ordered the bones to be placed in a marble urn. He summoned the greatest craftsman of the time. Sir Christopher Wren, England's architectural genius, designed the monument. Joshua Marshall, King's master mason and builder of London's monument to the Great Fire, executed it with solemn artistry. On February 18, 1675, preparations began, and by 1678, the urn was installed in the chapel of King Henry VII at Westminster Abbey, the resting place of kings. The inscription on the urn read, "Here lie the relics of Edward V, King of England, and Richard, Duke of York, sons of Edward IV, whom their uncle Richard III destroyed. Their bones, long concealed, were found in the year 1674, and by order of Charles II, King of England, placed among the monuments of their ancestors." With that, the lost princes were given royal recognition, if not absolute proof. But was it really them? That question has echoed through the centuries like a ghostly whisper in the tower's stone corridors. The discovery fit neatly into a long-held belief, fueled by Sir Thomas More's History of Richard III, written in the early 1500s. More claimed the princes were smothered in their beds and buried at the stair foot, meekly deep in the ground under a heap of stones. Though More was not a witness and possibly shaped by Tudor propaganda, his account eerily matched the location and condition of the bones. Yet doubt remained. The exact location of the find is still debated. Some say it was inside the White Tower, under a staircase. Others claim it was just outside. In 1866, Lord de Ros, the Tower's lieutenant governor, said that Charles II ordered a mulberry tree planted at the discovery site, a gesture of reverence. But the tree quickly withered after a new staircase was added. There had been earlier discoveries too. In 1623, a child skeleton was found in a desolate turret of the tower. In the early 1600s, 2 more skeletons were reportedly uncovered in a bricked-up room. But these finds were either ignored or dismissed. Why did Charles II take this discovery seriously? To understand Charles's reaction, one must understand his past. He had lived through the fall of the monarchy. His father, Charles I, was beheaded by parliamentarians. The English crown had been shattered, replaced by Cromwell's Commonwealth. For years, Charles lived in exile. When he finally returned to England in 1660 to reclaim his throne, he brought with him a deep understanding of the fragility of kingship. The tale of the princes, murdered by their uncle in a ruthless grab for power, resonated deeply. Charles knew too well the cost of betrayal, the stain of regicide. To inter the bones of the long-lost princes was more than honoring the dead. It was a statement. The monarchy endures, rights its wrongs, and remembers its children. The bones became a symbol, like the new crown jewels displayed in the Tower or the restoration of the ancient coronation procession from the Tower to Westminster. The burial of the princes tied Charles's reign to a noble, tragic past and a hopeful future. And yet, centuries later, we still do not know if the bones truly belong to Edward V and his brother Richard. In 1933, the urn was briefly opened. Scientists examined the remains using the techniques of the day, but their analysis was limited. They confirmed the bones belonged to 2 children. One skull showed signs of injury. The ages roughly matched. But DNA testing, which could have provided definitive answers, was never conducted. Requests for modern analysis have been repeatedly denied, out of respect for the royal dead and the sanctity of their resting place. So the mystery remains. 2 small skeletons in Westminster Abbey, a monument of marble and uncertainty, and a question that no historian, no monarch, no archaeologist has been able to answer with certainty. Were they the sons of Edward IV, victims of their uncle's ambition? Or were they others? Children buried long ago, mistakenly swept into one of the greatest legends of English history? The tale of the princes in the tower has fascinated and haunted generations. It has inspired novels, films, plays, and endless debate. It is a story with all the elements of tragedy. Innocence lost, power seized, justice delayed. It is also a reminder that history is not always clear. It is a shadowed road with missing stones, unreliable guides, and paths that lead in circles. What Charles II found in 1674 may never be proven. But in choosing to honor those fragile remains, he ensured that the memory of Edward V and Richard, Duke of York, would never vanish completely. They were lost once. They would not be forgotten again. And so they lie, beneath stone and silence, not far from the thrones they never reached. Whatever the truth, their story endures. A chapter still being written by historians, seekers, and dreamers alike. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the princes in the tower. What do you think happened to them? I'd love to hear your theories. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.